help me understand. So there is no one size fits all. Okay, although hybrid is a new norm, I always believe that working with people next to each other and seeing them in person is the best way, because a lot of my work was at a leadership level and an executive level, collaborative, and confluence of ideas. That's where you get the best product out. And then there is this middle management where the collaborative work is like, say, 20-30%, and then there is this freshers who believe that they can work like executive leadership, because they feel everybody is working from home, I can also work from home. Where I believe 100% of their learning is from looking at the peer group.
Yes.
You look at the peer groups, not what they teach, what they do, and you learn from that. So when, say, hybrid or work from office or complete remote, it's not a one size fits all.
Yeah.
Like, we get more and more personalized with our marketing efforts, right? Similarly, more and more personalized with our employee engagement efforts is required. So what is your thought on like these three different, like the leadership, the middle management, and the fresh talent coming into the industry? What kind of strategies would work best for all of them?
Right. See, I think there are many axes at which you can look at this, right? So one way to think about this whole thing is that working from office has been going on for like 100 years, right? We spoke about that earlier. And this, I think of this as this one giant experiment which is running for the last 4 years, right? Which could end up in everybody going back to office, going back to hybrid, or like you said, along the axis of different levels of people, right? There are again other axes we can look at it and say that maybe if the company has a largely field operations, it works differently. If the company has a largely desk operations, it works differently. If there's field plus desk kind of operations, right? More distributed, more remote. There are many ways in which you can sort of look at this and say this is the right way to work for this particular company, right? So I think that's very subjective and context matters a lot. Specifically on this axis that you're talking about, right? Whether leadership, middle management, and so on. Again, I would say it more matter. The context of that company matters more than anything else, right? So if the company has figured out what it does, right? They figured out a way to make money. They're stable. They are growing maybe 5, 10, 15% year on year. In that context, right? Whatever the size of the company, even if it's a 5 people company, I think, and the company largely does not have churn. Right, so that's another axis you can look at. Then these people know how to work well together. So if they go, and the context of the company also allows you to work well together, right? Then moving completely to a work from home setup works perfectly, right? Whether you're leadership, whether you're some middle management or freshers. But I would agree with what you said in the beginning, right? When you talk about freshers, right, and when I think of myself, when I think of the set of people we put together in the companies I have worked at, I think for freshers especially, it is very important to work out of the office, right? Because, and it can be for a period of time, it can be for X amount of years in their career, but a lot of their learning happens by sort of looking at what other people are doing, and that can be just your peers, it can be people one level up or two levels up, right? And that's how you will grow rapidly, right? More than what the company needs, I think just from a fresher perspective, it matters what that person needs, right? If they are in a role which is completely icy in nature and there is nothing to learn, it's a very specific do A task A, task B, task C, task D, then yes, maybe it makes sense. But even then, if you want to move on from doing task A, task B, task C, task D, you will have to learn what other people do and what people like level up and below beyond do. I think that factor is super important for freshers. So in any context, I would say freshers should be in the office if they can, right? It's best for them, even if the company doesn't need it from them. Because the company doesn't necessarily need that person to grow, right? It's more about that person needs to grow for like himself. The second part of it in middle management, again, context, right? Low churn, stable business, irrespective of size, you could be working out of home, right? But if you're a first line manager, your responsibility is again to these freshers, right? If they are not going to learn from you, who are they going to learn from? They learn from each other, right? If they are sitting in office and sitting at home, doesn't necessarily work. I think from a first line manager plus freshers, in my head, largely work from office. Good for the first line manager needs to be there for the freshers need to be there for themselves. Beyond that, again, I think context matters a lot more, right? Of that company. So depending on the context, the middle management and leadership have been there for a while to understand how the company works already. They can, depending on the context, what the company needs, they can be at home or at office. That's my thought.
Got it. So as in, how I see, especially here, is that, if somebody in the middle layer chooses to work from home, right, or work remotely 100%, right, they are essentially killing their own opportunity of growing up in the organization, because, they are an individual contributor, which means they are a silo in itself. The day I get a cheaper or a more efficient option than them, or I can automate, he is a disposable asset for me. Unless he comes to the office, he builds a relationship, he's a more of a team person, does more than what his job requires, right? Only then he is more critical. Because I've seen, so there is a site reliability engineer. Site reliability engineer is a very, very monotonous job. So he has got nothing to interact with people. And I also see that technology people, they think that, communication is an added advantage, not a requisite. And I see as the things evolve, right? Without communication, if you're just technology, then you're a cheaper version of ChatGPT, or probably a costlier version of ChatGPT. So it doesn't make sense. Because I am talking. So what I want to do is that I want to take a position opposite to you to get the best out of you.
Sure.
But at the same time, I also feel that especially for the middle management, if they think they want to work remotely permanently, they're going to be churned out very fast. They will not even know, because there is another 20-year guy willing to work double the hours
Yes.
for a lesser pay. So if then I can have two people do the same job and then easily discard you, and I don't even see you, I don't even have feelings or remorse that I'm removing you out of work. You're just another employee ID in my register. Right? So an employee ID in a register with a fixed expense.
So we actually have seen different flavors, and we have seen where middle managers and first line managers have taken action to be in office. We have seen their teams do better in terms of ability to deliver, quality of output, team bonding, attrition, all of those parameters. Managers who have taken initiative to be in office with their teams have had teams doing well, compared to managers who have used COVID or remote work to their advantage and stayed at home as much as possible, not taken initiative to bring their teams back to office. Their teams kind of have had challenges, attrition plus team bonding plus quality issues in terms of their delivery and so on. So we have pushed actually managers to come to office before our teams, and that has helped. So I agree with you actually that managers have to take the initiative, help their teams understand the benefits of actually being at office, the advantages, what in-person being at office could do, and drive that with their teams.
I think if they don't take that initiative, right, eventually they will be culled away, right? That is what I believe, at least. Organization, especially services organization, as I understand, which is the larger employment generator in India. So for them, the gross margins work as long as they keep getting in, because if the projects, billables are not increasing at 10-15% every year, it's kind of stagnant. But they have to give increments to every employee who is sitting on the floor. So if they continuously keep increasing their costs, their gross margins would not just matter up. So in that case, what happens is I will be forced to a situation where I will need fresh talent coming in, and I expect a particular percentage of churn, so that I continue to keep my gross margins. And if that churn doesn't happen by itself, then I lay off people. And I also see that right now, I see it more like a stock market dumping, a talent market dumping. The cost of talent have increased post-COVID,
Yes.
kind of permanently. Companies don't like it. So they are